You ever been in a meeting, or maybe starting a new job, and you get this nagging little voice in your head that just whispers, "You don't belong here." Any minute now, they're all going to find you out. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to dive into what that feeling is exactly and why so many of us have it.
I mean, it's a huge question, isn't it? Even when you've got this track record of success, all this evidence, why does it still feel like you're just one tiny mistake away from everyone seeing you as a total fraud? Well, we're about to get right to the bottom of that feeling.
All right, so first up, let's actually explore what's happening on the inside when this feeling hits. What is this fraudulent feeling really all about?
This phrase right here gets to the absolute heart of it. It's the core thought that drives the whole experience. It's this persistent internal dread that your real self, the one you think is less capable, is about to be exposed for everyone to see.
And yep, there's a name for it, Imposter Syndrome. Now, what's really important to know is that it's not a disorder. It's what's called a psychological occurrence. It's an experience, and it's super common, especially among high achievers, where they just can't seem to internalize their own success. It just doesn't sink in. So, let's dig into the central puzzle of this whole thing, what I like to call the success paradox. This is that constant battle between what you feel on the inside and the actual reality of your achievements.
See, on one side, you've got your feelings, and they are just shouting things like, "I'm not qualified," or "I just got lucky," or "that was a total fluke." But then, on the other side, you have the cold, hard evidence. The promotions, the positive feedback, all the projects you've nailed. This disconnect is right at the heart of the whole experience.
And that's the key question, right? If all the evidence points to you being totally competent, why does that fraudulent feeling stick around so stubbornly? Well, the answer is pretty fascinating, and it has everything to do with how our brains are wired.
And that brings us to the real source of the feeling. Because this isn't about you being broken or flawed. It's about a very, very old part of your brain just doing its job, maybe a little too well.
And this is so crucial. So let this really sink in. Feeling like an imposter does not mean you have a character flaw. It just means you have a brain that is trying really hard to protect you. You could almost say it's a feature, not a bug.
Okay, so think about it. Our brains are fundamentally wired for survival. For our ancient ancestors, getting kicked out of the tribe was a literal death sentence. So your brain is still scanning for that social danger of being exposed or found out. The problem is, it can't really tell the difference between the threat of, say, a saber-toothed tiger and the perceived threat of giving a PowerPoint presentation.
Here's an analogy. Think of it like a smoke detector that goes off every single time you make toast. It's not broken, right? It's just a little overly sensitive. That feeling of dread, it's just your ancient survival instinct firing off in a modern, pretty low-stakes situation. Okay, so if the feeling comes from this wonky danger signal, how does it keep going? How does it become such a persistent, nagging feeling? Well, that's where the brain's next little trick comes in, the overthinking loop.
This cycle is what really locks that feeling in place. It kicks off with the fear of being found out. That fear then triggers this intense, anxious over-preparation. You work twice as hard as anyone else. And then, of course, you accomplish the task. But here's the twist. Instead of feeling relieved, you immediately discount your success. You tell yourself, "See? The only reason I succeeded is because I put in a superhuman effort. I'm a fraud who almost failed."
And this is that paradox in action. It's wild, right? Instead of building your confidence, every success you have actually reinforces the imposter feeling. It becomes proof that you aren't naturally good enough and that you barely escaped disaster, which just sets the stage for the whole cycle to start all over again.
So, knowing all this, what can we actually do about it? I mean, we can't just turn off our brain's survival instinct, but what we can do is change our relationship with that feeling. We can start by giving it a totally new meaning.
This is probably the single most important takeaway from all of this. The next time that feeling hits, try not to see it as some final judgment on your skills. Instead, just see it for what it is, a side effect. It's just a bit of neurological static from a brain that's working overtime trying to keep you safe from social harm.
And I want to leave you with this last thought to mull over. That danger signal often fires up precisely when you're pushing your own boundaries, right? When you're stepping into a new challenge. So what if that feeling of being an imposter isn't a sign that you don't belong at all? What if it's the exact opposite? What if it's actually a sign that you are exactly where you need to be, right on the edge of your comfort zone, about to learn something new, and about to grow?